equity for everyone, every day with your host, Debra Gould. Yes, I am Debra Washington Gould, President and CEO of Debra Gould and Associates, Inc. is a New Orleans-based management consulting and performance management business founded in 1996. Yay! Celebrating 27 years. I would like to ask that you visit my website at www.gouldassoc.com. That's gouldassociates.com, where you can learn more about my professional service offerings and training, facilitating, executive coaching, management consulting, and business motivational keynoting. So we're here today to, as you can see, my guest today is Mr. Jon Renthrope. He is the founder and CEO of Cajun Fire Brewing. But let me tell you a little bit about the Hustle Skirt. The mission is about promoting, communicate, and amplify the influence of men like Jon and women entrepreneurs for profit. You heard me right, for profit businesses. Or on occasion, I may invite every once in a while a C-suite or a higher executive with a corporation, government, or nonprofit organization. But for right now, all the energy around Hustle Skirt podcast is for entrepreneurs. So let's understand the meaning. When I say Hustle Skirt, it's all about positivity, the influence of men and women like Jon Renthrope in the business community, serving as entrepreneurs, mentor, small business advocacy. Our work stretches beyond the commitment of our businesses. What we give back to the business community in our communities to make a difference. So without a doubt, we don't want to get it twisted. Jon and Debra, we are not just fooling around. We are for real businesses. And you're going to learn more about this gentleman in a minute. But just keep in mind, when I say Hustle Skirt, it's individuals like Jon and Debra, never give up. Believe in yourself. We don't take no for granted, and we don't take no for an answer. Be confident, be bold, be courageous, be encouraging. But by God, be prosperous, because we put a lot of sweat equity in our businesses every day. So with that being said, without a doubt, we did not live this long and strong to be put on the back shelf. So we are making a difference in our business community. So with that being said, I've mentioned Jon's name a couple of times, Jon L. Renthrope. I want to share his credentials. So we'll reach out to this gentleman more than just this platform today. Jon L. Renthrope, 35. Yeah, y'all, handsome fella, huh? He's happily married, ladies. And it's a pleasure to know this gentleman. I've had the chance and privilege to get to know him through the New Orleans Regional Black Chamber and so many other places within the minority business community. But Jon is a native New Orleanian and member of the United Nation of Houma Indians, an indigenous tribal community located in bayou region of Southern Louisiana. He will have to tell us more about that, because I've met another couple that's in Slidell, Louisiana. I believe it's a part of this same United Nation of Houma let me say that again, Indians. He is CEO of Cajun Fire Brewing Company, the first, you heard me right, the first Black and Native American owned brewing company in the U.S. South and an internationally recognized brewmaster by trade profession. Please help me welcome my guest today, Jon L. Renthrope. Hello, Jon.
I appreciate you so much, Miss Debra Gould.
Oh, we're not going to be Miss Debra. We're all about business. We are Jon.
Yeah.
Debra, it is my privilege to have you today because I have tried your product. I think everything. I mean, man, you all over in terms of major supermarkets, and you're going to tell us all about that. And just not just those venues, but so many other places. So this audience get to see the real deal. And African-American man who is making his mark in this particular industry. So are you ready, Jon?
You got me fired up. It's kind of hard for me to stay seated. I want to run out there and
I want you energized and enthusiastic because look, I have fun. I mean, when we hang out together, it's all real, but you're business savvy. I just love watching you in action. And I want other folks to get to know you, Jon. So with that being said, all of my guests know that Debra bring it with questions because this is an opportunity to engage you to talk about your business as well as to get folks acquainted and excited about what you're doing here internationally. Here we go. Why did you decide to start your own business?
So it's twofold. One is circumstances that occurred. Just to give you backstory, I'm 35. So Hurricane Katrina, that incident happened when I was in my senior year of high school. And I was just kind of getting into the entrepreneurship space. I was, it might sound light, but I was burning CDs and I was selling CDs. And that was my first real like taste of entrepreneurship. So I would be burning CDs. I stayed right by Circuit City. Every Tuesday, when all the new drops come out, I would get out there, burn the CDs. And at that time, it used to be an all-day thing. So I used to go to school tired. And that'd be my entrepreneurship dive. And then Katrina happened. Unfortunately, I was displaced. I wanted to always go in a culinary background, but the school I went to was a school at University of Florida. They didn't offer any of that. So I still had these big kettle gumbo pots and stuff, which was my life belongings. And I started brewing beer. I couldn't really brew gumbo worth the, you know what, but I can make beer, I can make alcohol. And when I looked at the market, I saw there wasn't anybody that looked like me, and it was a multi-billion-dollar industry, still is a multi-billion-dollar industry. I was like, all right, I'm gonna take my hand at it. And what really, I guess, put me at the point of no return in this entrepreneurship journey, I couldn't find anybody that would hire me, give me opportunity, give anybody in my community any space to really engage this market. So I had to create my own.
So what's unique about Cajun Fire Brewing, that name? I see that you wear in your company apparel, and I'm just curious, of all the names you could have picked, I mean, it's part of Louisiana, but how much thought and time did you put into saying Cajun Fire?
So when I first created the term or to use the company name Cajun Fire, my mind, if I had to go back, my company, we 12 years old. We the second longest continuously operating Black-owned beer brand in U.S. history. I was trying to channel in, all right, what in the market would attract a buyer to pick my product? And not only that, let's just say if my product is outside the state, what would allow them to know what region my product is coming from? There's that side of it from just a marketing side. From a saleability side, from a pull ratio side, but also the history, the New Orleans, it was destroyed by fire 2 times. A lot of our architecture-wise mismatch, and they got a lot of, different architectural styles. Our city was destroyed by fire in 1788 and then again in 1796. So, there's a lot of history in that. I figured that would be a good thing. Yeah, and also, you might find it's funny, Swamp People, that show when they do test demographics, that's one of the highest rated Discovery Channel programs. And I looked at how Cajun that kind of side of Cajun culture was testing around all these different out of the country markets. And I was like, all right, let me go into that space. It's already something people could just automatically transport their mind to when they see it. They know what region it's coming from. It's a lot.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's a lot that I don't have to speak on. It's a lot that I don't have to necessarily engage when people see my product. So,
unique. That's a
yeah.
unique selling position. Bravo to you, Jon.
And it was a good choice because I've had to
history.
defend. Yeah, and I had to, and just a testament to how good the brand is. I've had to defend it in court a couple of times, so I own that. It's locked in box, word mark, trademark. We'll see the next battle, but so far so good. I've been winning my cases as well for protection.
All right. That was important to say that, Jon, for encouraging so many emerging and young entrepreneur, and that you're being such a young age. Keep that fight in you too. How many times you have to do it? Stand up and speak up. So let's continue with the next question. How would you describe your company's success so far?
So far, if I'm being honest, I think we've been quite successful. I really don't have any companies that's in my space that I can look to. Like, just for instance, when I got started, I always say we the first this and that, but it's with a grain of salt, because the reality is there've been other pioneers that been in my position, but other reality is we weren't recognized as far as Black Americans as human beings, so you couldn't own an LLC. So a lot of those narratives about people that's been in my space is lost. We are the most regionally distributed Black-owned beer brand, and we only getting started yet. So I think I would say delayed gratification would be the feelings I normally get. I'm very proud about what we've done. I know I inspired a lot of other entrepreneurs to get into this multi-billion-dollar industry, and but for me, I do have a sense of delayed gratification and yearning to scale it to what I see some of my competitors go with, doing far less. So we're very successful. I mean, we're in a lot of different grocery stores and retailers, but just to have that footprint where we really have our wealth building institutions set up, that's the goal, and we're not there yet.
Well, I'm happy to say when I was in Northern California, I decided, how would I bless my son for his Father's Day? We shipped a case
it travels well.
Cajun Fire Brewery beer, and he and a couple of partners, they enjoyed it. He said, "Mother, that was a great gift." He said, "We will be promoting it up in Northern California." I said, "Jon would certainly appreciate that feedback." He said, "I like every one of them." And he said, as my buddies and I was watching a wrestling, not wrestling, but a boxing match, he said, "I set aside a sample of each of the brands you sent me. Everyone was tasting them and they wanted more. So hopefully let's grow geographically in Northern California, and more money, Jon."
Yeah, California, that's like a country in itself. That state's so big and diverse, all that expendable.
I have another connection for you too in the Sacramento area too. So
I'm gonna take you up on it.
Okay, you got it. Let's spread it. This is what the podcast is all about: economic equity for everyone, every day. If I can be that type of support system through my influence, I want everyone to know about Cajun Fire. So let's keep the questions going here. I got one more for you. Who is your biggest role model?
So my biggest role model, unfortunately, is as far as it pertains to just my professional background. Of course, grandmother, my two-parent household, my parents, uncles, brother, even my wife, all inspirational figures in my life, all people I channel in, and ultimately drive me to keep going forward and don't get deterred or distracted. But in the profession, I got two role models that I follow like they blueprint. One is deceased, Theodore Mack Sr. He was a pioneer, a Black American entrepreneur, civil rights activist. And unfortunately, his narrative is just starting to kind of get some breadth and get into the hands of what it needs to. But long story short, he created the first Black-owned beer company in U.S. history, called People's Brewing Company. He was a sharecropper in Alabama, wind up getting a football scholarship to a college in Wisconsin, in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And from there, he did a lot of civil rights activism. He decided he wanted us to have skin in the game in the beer industry, and that would lead him to acquire a brewing company called People's Brewing Company. And he thrived for a good 4 years in one of the most racist climates in the U.S. at the time. And with something that was as culturally protected as beer is, the amount of milestones he was able to create have just only recently been, overcome. So, so considering what he did back in the late 60s, it's just, his story is pretty crazy. And if anyone, your listening audience is listening, just try to check out Theodore Mack Sr. He has a book that's out that his son helped bring the light and get published. And I got a pretty great relationship with his son. And it's like, for me, that's one of the best professional relationships. Somebody that's extremely further out there, the theologian St. Augustine of Hippo. He's the patron saint of craft beer. He's also the school that I come from. I hail from the mighty St. Augustine, purple. He's our patron saint. And a lot, even like some of my alumni brothers, we don't necessarily know that he's the patron saint of beer. He's also the patron saint of print. He is a Black theologian. That's how he's depicted in a lot of different documentation. He's from Algeria. How he received his sainthood. He actually cured leprosy via his production of beer. When you're leper, you're dehydrated, and that was the only drinkable source of hydration. They didn't understand the microorganisms and things like that and how that works in the bio. And that's how he got ordained to sainthood, literally by saving people via his ability to brew beer. So that's my two figures,
I
aside
tell you,
from my.
this is an interesting and amazing interview because we're getting so much history, and you have done your homework to understand your industry, this billion-dollar industry. So I hope the men in purple support you because you have a strong network just in that name, St. Aug and the Purple Knight. That in itself should be.
Yeah, and I got 2 products that's on the way. It's almost like a double disc. That's how I look at it, kind of like an artist rendition when I'm brewing my beer. So I have a product that's called Ode to Augustus. That's going to pay homage to St. Augustine of Hippo. And then we're going to follow up with another product that's going to further dive into it, called From Hippo with Love. And, we already protected the trademarks, word marks, all that. And hopefully we can get the blessings from the theologians in the area. So.
All right. Well, Jon, we're just about out of time to wrap up this particular podcast with you today. And we're talking with Jon L. Renthrope, the founder, the president, and CEO of Cajun Fire Brewing Company. Now, before I leave, Jon, let me throw in real quick something around equity. Because as you know, the Hustle Skirt podcast is all about economic equity for everyone every day. If there was one word that you can, just off the top of your head, describe equity, what would be that one word that comes up for you?
I would state love, if I had to put a word tied to it. Love can be the most destructive weapon, or it can be the most resourceful weapon. And I think how equity is treated, particularly in our society, it's not too much love. So we get a lot of, like, particularly in the Black community, we have a lot of disparities that we constantly engaged in that don't allow us to necessarily fulfill like what we've been put on this earth to do, specifically as it pertains in the economy side of things. So that's in a nutshell what word I would tie to. Might have been kind of deep, but that's that's how I roll.
Well, you had to bring it that deep because it was a great word. I love it. And the way you put the spin on it as it relates to the minority business community in terms of our worth, our talents, our skills, the sweat equity that we put in to build our brand. And like I said earlier, you and I, we're just ordinary people doing extraordinary things. You did your homework to say, this is the market in this space, I'm going to tap into it. And you're going to bring a whole lot of people along with you. You shared that in that interview that you're influencing others to get into this particular industry. That's love, Jon. So that was a good word that you chose. But we're going to close out at this particular time. And just to remind our audience that you are listening to the podcast Hustle Skirt. And in this particular interview, before I leave, so that you stay true and follow Mr. Renthrope as often as you want to, please visit my website at www.persistencelane.com, where you would have an opportunity to give me Jon and I a rating of this particular interview on iTunes, but just a few others, just to name a few that you can watch this interview again, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Amazon FM. And so again, that website is www.gouldassociates.com. And Jon, as I ask each question, we didn't get a chance before I close out to have your contact information to share your website outside of this particular interview. If folks want to visit to learn more about Cajun Fire, would you take a moment to give us your contact information?
Sure, and I know you got an international listening audience, so I'm gonna provide my website is drinkcajunfire.com. Check me out. We occupy a space of more than 10,000 craft breweries in operation in the U.S. today. Only 80 are Black owned. Much more significant is an organization called the National Black Brewers Association. It encompasses all of our Black breweries. We're a collective that just got started this past January. We have amazing leadership. I forgot the website, but if you type in on Google National Black Brewers Association, I'm gonna defer my vouching. Go check them out. That way, wherever you're at regionally, you can tap in, support these Black businesses, learn about what they do. And if you want to get involved with this multi-billion-dollar industry, that's my charge to you. Check it out. It's worth the dive.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Jon, for doing that. So just want to wrap up our show on the Hustle Skirt podcast. Please visit the website, persistencelane.com. You're listening to the Hustle Skirt podcast, the show that brings you economic equity for everyone, every day, with your host, Debra Gould. Jon, thank you for the privilege and the value of your time today. Make yourself a great day. Take care, Jon.
All right. Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.